What if the man who gave up everything is now trapped in a reality of his own making? For years, the world believed Prince Harry would fiercely defend Meghan Markle, sacrificing his home, titles, and family, all in the name of love. His devotion seemed unwavering, but beneath the surface, a quiet storm has been brewing, not caused by Meghan, but by Harry himself. In a move that blindsided his steadfast partner and shook the very foundation of their marriage, Harry recently made a choice that revealed cracks too deep to hide. It all began years ago with a simple email, a single sentence that inadvertently spilled the truth about the illusion they had built together. Understanding this pivotal moment reframes their entire narrative, suggesting that what seemed like a fairy tale is, in fact, a marriage straining under the weight of unspoken truths. Let's rewind to February 2018, a time shrouded in joy and anticipation, yet unbeknownst to the outside world, something peculiar was happening within the palace walls. Prince Harry drafted an official email, one that would later serve as legal evidence in court, unexpectedly captivating the attention of those who read between the lines. At first glance, it appeared routine and protective, but buried within was an astonishing statement about a baby's impending arrival. Few noticed the alarming implications of this assertion because, at that point, there had been no pregnancy announcement, no rumors, and certainly no baby bump. Two interpretations emerged. Was Harry simply expressing hope for a future child, or did he genuinely believe that Meghan was already expecting? His tone revealed his urgency and frustration, casting doubt on whether this was wishful thinking or an attempt to manage a potential crisis before it became public knowledge. As this email circulated through the palace, a wave of confusion cascaded through its halls. Allegedly, Meghan had revealed her pregnancy to Harry, and he, in his emotional fervor, accepted her word completely. But amidst the royal staff, an unsettling awareness grew. There were no medical confirmations or doctor reports to validate Harry's claims. Instead, only echoes of his urgent words. "It needs to be resolved before the baby arrives." This phrase resonated in late-night calls and hasty planning meetings, creating an atmosphere filled with unspoken tension and anxiety. Harry, usually viewed as the quintessential prince, instead appeared as a man terrified of losing everything he loved. His actions spoke of a man racing against time, convinced that revealing the truth too soon could unravel everything. The speed of Harry and Meghan's engagement shocked even the most seasoned royal veterans. Most couples take their time, allowing years for careful planning and extensive vetting, but Harry seemed oblivious to tradition. He insisted on an immediate wedding, launching into a chaotic 6-month countdown that left palace staff bewildered. The urgency behind this decision echoed Harry's initial email, where the need to secure the marriage before the supposed baby arrived became the driving force behind their union. As the couple rushed towards the altar, the emotional stakes were high, with Meghan appearing poised and regal while Harry, fraught with anxiety, mirrored a man overwhelmed by an impending catastrophe. Behind the smiling photos and glamorous interviews lay a more complex picture. A prince thrust into an emotional maelstrom, hurriedly trying to protect a narrative that might not even be true. By March 2018, the air shifted within the palace. The earlier frenzy abruptly dissipated. The crisis that had spurred a wedding marathon suddenly vanished, leaving staff in confusion over the absence of any discussion about the pregnancy. Whispers swirled regarding Meghan's heartbreaking misfortune, a personal tragedy unknown to the public eye. Yet, the timelines were problematic. If Meghan had indeed been pregnant in late 2017, by May 2018, signs should have become evident. Meanwhile, Harry did not appear to bear the weight of grief. Instead, he seemed relieved, as if the pressure surrounding him had finally lifted. The staff, and even the Queen, took note of this peculiar reaction, prompting whispers about the possibility that no pregnancy ever existed. Could it be that the urgency compelling Harry wasn't rooted in reality, but rather in powerful belief and desperation? Inside the palace, another layer of scrutiny was unfolding as observers began to notice Meghan's adept handling of different situations. She demonstrated distinct tactics, almost like adopting 3 masks to navigate the emotional terrain of her new environment. When seeking sympathy, Meghan donned the victim, portraying vulnerability that instantly ignited Harry's protective instincts. In moments requiring loyalty, She transformed into the partner, fostering a sense of unity where every challenge felt like a shared battle against the institution. Finally, when she sought power, she assumed the role of the star, exuding confidence that captivated both the public and media. Harry, deeply in love and emotionally connected, found himself shifting along with her. Each change in Meghan's demeanor was mirrored in Harry's responses, rendering him a reactive participant in a dance he barely understood. Emotion became a strategic weapon, forging an invisible bond that left Harry struggling to discern love from the pressure of expectation. As May 2018 emerged, the wedding day drew near, an event that the palace had been carefully orchestrating for weeks. Yet, while the world celebrated Harry and Meghan's union, insiders held a quieter, more chilling perspective. The wedding, a picture of fairy tale charm, was underpinned by a foundation of emotional turmoil and urgency. The earlier implications of a baby were now ghostly whispers, absent from conversations yet entirely present in the minds of those who had once rushed to accommodate the perceived timeline. As Meghan glided down the aisle, flawless and radiant, the royal insiders felt a disquieting chill. Harry was not merely stepping into a celebration. He was entering a marriage constrained by the overwhelming force of urgency, a reality he failed to see. Love and commitment had become entangled with fear and manipulation, marking the moment as one built not on certainty, but on the fragile scaffolding of unaddressed truths. Following their departure from the palace, Harry and Meghan painted a picture of freedom and adventure in Montecito, yet this new chapter unwittingly became another trap. Initially, life in California seemed electric with opportunity. Business ventures, media projects, and the allure of a fresh start were exhilarating. However, as the novelty wore off, Harry began feeling adrift. Without the palace structure that had defined his existence, he found himself grappling with an unexpected void. Changes in routine unveiled deeper insecurities. He was no longer the prince, but rather an accessory in a vibrant world where Meghan thrived. While she basked in the spotlight, Harry wrestled with feelings of isolation and purposelessness, caught in a quiet struggle that contrasted sharply with their outwardly glamorous life. In their expansive Montecito mansion, the walls echoed a silence that felt heavier than the constraints he had once left behind. A painful reminder of the emotional cost tied to that rushed wedding and the unresolved issues that continued to shadow their lives. As time passed in Montecito, the burdens of Harry's past decisions became ever more apparent. That single email served as a constant reminder of the choices he made during a chaotic time, decisions driven by hope rather than clarity. Harry had invested everything into the belief that love could shield him from his demons, that a fairy tale romance would ultimately mend the wounds of his childhood. However, as the reality of life outside the royal ecosystem set in, he began grappling with a painful truth. Love was not a panacea. Instead, his idealism had transformed into confusion, and hope now felt like a double-edged sword, accentuating feelings of being trapped rather than liberated. The weight of expectation bore heavily on Harry, leading him into moments of self-reflection where he questioned his decisions and their long-term implications. Despite the facade of control that the couple projected, Harry found himself wrestling with the realization that he was not guiding their destiny. Rather, he was being guided by forces beyond his comprehension. The very commitment he thought would solidify their bond became a source of internal conflict. With Meghan increasingly present and assertive, Harry navigated a landscape where his voice often felt secondary to her ambitions. This led to an insidious sense of resignation, making him acutely aware of how his initial motivations had ultimately culminated in a marriage governed by unpredictability. While he desired freedom from the monarchy, he inadvertently ensnared himself in a different set of constraints rooted in emotional dependency. In chasing an ideal, he had traded one type of prison for another, complicating their relationship more than he could have anticipated. As they continued their journey, Harry could not escape the echoes of the past that seemed to reverberate with every decision. The struggle for identity became a pivotal theme in their lives, with Harry increasingly conscious of the stark contrasts between his former royal self and the man he was becoming, or failing to become. He faced questions that haunted his existence. What does it mean to truly be free? Who am I outside the shadow of the crown? The images of the past loomed large as Harry sought to reconcile his love for Meghan and the remnants of his royal legacy. He was faced with a choice: confront the fears that had tethered him to the palace, or succumb to the disillusionment of a life marred by unfulfilled expectations. Ultimately, the decisions he made now would shape not only his relationship with Meghan, but also his sense of self, a reality that weighed heavily on his shoulders. In this unfolding saga, it becomes painfully clear that the fairy tale may be over, but the complexities of love and identity continue to challenge Harry at every turn. The cracks in their marriage didn't merely stem from external pressures or public opinion. They began with a single email, a fleeting moment fraught with urgency and miscommunication. Love, once a beacon of hope, now casts shadows of confusion as Harry grapples with the consequences of his choices and the very fabric of his relationship. While Meghan continues to shine in the limelight, Harry walks beside her, relegated to the role of a supporting character in a story meant to be his own. As he faces the inevitable reality of their situation, one question lingers. Will he eventually find the courage to confront the truth behind the illusions of his past and shape a future on his own terms? The world watches closely, anticipating Harry's next move as the echoes of his marriage resonate ever louder.